Late fall in Charlotte, and the rain came down like the sky was trying to close a chapter. My sister and her husband had left an hour before, driving home to their 2 little girls. That left me and Hazel, my sister's best friend from college, a woman I had seen maybe 4 times in 8 years, alone in her bungalow at 10 at night. I looked at the storm outside and said before I thought, "It's too late to drive home." She blushed, looked down and said quietly, "Then stay. No one will know." I didn't know it yet. She had been planning that one line for a full year. I am Marcus Bell, 36, architect, sole owner of a small studio in the Noda neighborhood of Charlotte, North Carolina. Quiet work. I restore old public school buildings the city was ready to tear down. Slow work, hand drawings, measuring twice. Divorced 3 years, no children. I live alone in a 2-story red brick townhouse. Oak floors that creak in 3 spots. Kitchen half finished since summer. Mornings are mine. Coffee, hand poured, one man at a counter. Somebody told me once that a man who lives alone long enough forgets how it feels to be noticed. Whoever said that was right. 3 years after the divorce, I thought I had made peace with it. My sister is Nia, 29, 7 years younger than me, marketing at a furniture company in South End. Graduated Northeastern in 2020, moved to Charlotte, married Ethan, the civil engineer. Gave me 2 nieces, Amari, 5, Zara, 3. She is the person who pulled me out of the year after my divorce. She made Sunday dinner mandatory. Every Sunday she handed me the same ash-glazed ceramic mug for tea blue-gray, week after week. I never asked where it came from. Later on, I would regret not asking. Vanessa is my ex-wife. I will say it flat. We got married because of timing, not because of the person. She wanted a life. I was the vehicle. When I could not deliver fast enough, she left. Clean divorce. She moved down to Miami. I thought that chapter was closed. And Hazel was my sister's freshman year roommate at Northeastern, back in 2015. I met her once, in 2018, when I flew up for Parents' Weekend. I was 28, 2 years married. Nia dragged me and Hazel to a ramen place near campus. Hazel was 20. Quiet. Ordered the shrimp bowl. Laughed when Nia told the story of my first ruined thesis drawing. I shook her hand, said, "Thanks for looking out for my sister," and turned back to Nia. That was it. In the 8 years since, I saw her maybe 4 more times. Nia's graduation. Nia's wedding. My 30th birthday on a Zoom call during COVID. Thanksgiving 2 years back in Boston. Every time, she was polite, warm, and just far enough across the room that we never actually crossed it. She was working on her doctorate in pediatric occupational therapy. A year ago, Nia called me. Hazel took a job in Charlotte. She is moving down next month. I asked why. Nia said the job was a good fit. Cost of living was cheaper than Boston. Nice to have a friend in town. I believed her. I did not think twice. Hazel bought a small bungalow in Plaza Midwood and started renovating it herself. In February, she texted Nia asking if anyone could look at her kitchen drawings. Nia gave her my number. I stopped by, marked them up, drank a cup of tea, and left. Professional. No lingering. A few months later, she texted, "Kitchen is done." "Thank you," I said. "Any time." Then she showed up at Nia's birthday in July, then a group coffee in October. Nia canceled at the last minute, and it was just Hazel and me for 45 minutes. We talked about work. This Saturday, she invited both of us over. Come over for dinner, my way of thanking Marcus for the drawings. Nia brought Ethan and the girls. I brought Malbec. By 7, her bungalow was warm brass wall sconces going gold, table lamps throwing orange light, an orchid on the dining table. She had made lemon roasted chicken, butter thyme potatoes, arugula salad. Amari and Zara ran laps around the coffee table, then slowed down, then went quiet the way small kids do when a storm is rolling in outside. Ethan checked his watch. By 9:30 the rain was heavier. The radio was talking about flooding. Nia was already reaching for coats. She kissed Hazel on the cheek, hugged me quick. "Stay and help her clean up. We need to get the girls home." All 3 of them were gone. Just me, Hazel, and the rain. I was 36 years old, and I thought I understood my own life pretty well. Hazel was my sister's college friend, a phrase I had used for 8 years without thinking once about what it meant. She handed me a mug of mint tea. I took it, turned it in my hand, and my eyes fell to the bottom. A small mark pressed into the clay. HM 2019, exactly the same mark as the mug at Nia's house. I spent 3 nights and 3 days at Hazel's because the road home was closed and there was nowhere else for me to go. I thought it was 3 quiet nights of being decent to my sister's friend. But every hour that passed, I noticed one more thing. Hazel knew more about me than I knew about her, and she was being careful not to show it too fast. That first night, with the mug still warm in my hand, I looked at her. She was pouring herself a cup from the same set. I asked her, plain, "Did you make this?" She hesitated a single beat, then smiled. "Yeah, took a pottery class during my doctorate. It was how I unwound." I said, "Nia has the same pair." She nodded and did not add anything for a second. "Yeah, I gave them to her." I stopped. My head started to turn things over, but I did not jump to any conclusions. Friends give friends pottery. That happens all the time. I woke up the next morning in her guest room and checked my phone. There was an alert from the city of Charlotte. Davidson Street through Noda was underwater. Closed indefinitely. Minimum 3 days. I texted Nia. She wrote back in about 10 seconds. "Stay at Hazel's. The girls have got me tied up over here, and I already checked with Hazel. She is fine with it." I went down to the kitchen. She had already made coffee, 2 scoops. No sugar. Exactly the way I take it. I asked her, "How did you know the ratio?" She answered without turning around. "Nia mentioned it. More than once." A reasonable answer. I let it go. That day we worked in the same room without talking much. She spread patient files across the dining table, and I opened my laptop and worked on a set of drawings. For 4 hours we sat next to each other in an easy kind of silence. I could not remember the last time I had worked in easy silence with another person in the same room. With Vanessa, silence had always had a noise underneath it. Some argument waiting to happen. This silence just held. In the afternoon she asked me what I was working on. I showed her the hand drawings for the Wesley Heights Elementary Library, a sensory reading space for kids on the spectrum. She looked at it a long time. Then she pointed at one corner. "This window here, if you angle it 30 degrees instead of setting it square, the afternoon sun will not hit the reading tables. A lot of these kids are photosensitive." I looked at her. She said it without any pride in it, just sharing what she knew. I picked up a pencil and made the change on the spot. It was the first time in 3 years that somebody had told me something about my work that I knew was right the second I heard it. Vanessa used to call my drawings dry. Hazel told me my drawings needed a 30-degree window for the kids. That night I cooked pasta with a sauce I had made from scratch. She asked me about Vanessa. Not sharp, just curious. I told her the short version. Honest, not bitter. She listened, nodded, did not judge. Then she said, "You did not lose anything. You just gave back something that was never yours to begin with." I sat there for a second, because that was exactly what I had been trying to say to myself for 3 years, and I had never once found the words for it. She had said it in one sentence. Later that night, my sister called on FaceTime, pretending to check on the girls. I put her on speaker. Nia asked Hazel, "You two doing okay?" Hazel said, "We are fine." Then Nia dropped her voice lower. "Have you said anything yet?" Hazel glanced at me. I pretended to be looking at my phone. "Not yet. Give me time." Nia sighed. "Okay," and she hung up. I pretended I had not heard. My heart was beating a little faster than it should have been. Said what? About who? The next morning she left early for the clinic. She had left a note on the kitchen table for me. "Coffee is in the carafe. Bread in the cabinet. Work as long as you need. H." Her handwriting was round, slanted a little to the right. I read that note twice, then folded it and put it in my wallet. I do not know why I did that. I still have it, actually. 16 months later, I still have it. Around noon that day, I got up from the laptop to stretch and walked a slow loop around her living room. Her bookshelf caught my eye. 3 architecture books on the second shelf. Le Corbusier, Louis Kahn, and Jane Jacobs' The Death and Life of Great American Cities, the same Jacobs book I had mentioned in passing 8 months earlier when I was over marking up her kitchen drawings. I opened the Jacobs cover. Written in light pencil on the inside flap was a small note in her handwriting. Amazon, March 2026. 3 months after I had been over at her house. She had remembered which book I had named. She had gone home and ordered it. In the afternoon, I noticed a small album on the lower shelf. I flipped through it. Photos of her and Nia at college. Photos of her at a pottery wheel. Then, one photo my 30th birthday in 2020. All of us on a Zoom call because of COVID. A screenshot of her laptop. I was in a small square in the corner, laughing at something. 6 years old. She had printed it out and taped it into her album. She came home that evening tired and made salmon. We ate in silence for 30 seconds before she said, "Marcus, if I am making you uncomfortable in my house, please tell me. I will call you an Uber to a hotel." I looked at her. I told her the truth. I am comfortable. That is what has me a little confused. She looked down at her plate and gave a small smile. She did not push it. After dinner she washed and I dried. Our hands touched when she passed me a plate. Neither of us pulled back right away. 4 full seconds. She looked at me. I looked at her. Neither of us said anything. Then she turned back to the sink, and I went back to the towel. But the whole kitchen was different after that. By the morning of the 3rd day, the city sent another alert. Davidson would reopen at 6 that evening. I could go home. She knew. I knew. All morning neither of us mentioned it. Around lunch, she said, "I am making dinner tonight, if you want to stay one more night. No pressure." I said, "I will stay." That afternoon, before she got home from work, I stood in the kitchen holding the HM 2019 mug. I set it down on the counter. I thought about the book on the shelf, the birthday screenshot, the window detail she had remembered, the coffee ratio. This entire year, maybe longer than that. I picked up my phone to text Nia, then set it back down. I wanted to hear this from Hazel, not from my sister. By the time she came home that 3rd evening, I was sitting at her kitchen island with the mug in front of me, and a whole year of small moments rearranged in my head. The kitchen consultation in February, the Jacob's book on the shelf, the birthday photo taped into an album, the coffee ratio, the window detail she remembered from a project she had barely heard me describe, the way she had not once, in 3 days, asked me a single question about myself that she did not already seem to know the answer to. It was not that she was lying. She had never lied. She had answered every question I put to her. She had just been careful about the questions she let me ask. Very careful, for a very long time. And now I was sitting in the middle of her house with all of it in front of me, and I did not know what to do with any of it. Some people walk into a room in your life, and you think they are guests. Then, you look around and realize they have been living in that room longer than you have. Wednesday morning, somebody knocked on the front door. It was a hard knock, 3 sharp raps in a row, the kind that says the person on the other side is not going to wait long. Hazel was at the clinic. I had just come down for coffee. I answered it in socks, still holding the mug she had made. Vanessa was standing there in a black raincoat, holding a folded piece of yellowed paper between 2 fingers like it was evidence. "Marcus, I did not think I would find you at her house." I stood in the doorway blocking her. "You are standing on somebody else's porch. Please leave." She smiled, the same tight-lipped smile I remembered from every argument we had ever had at the end of our marriage. "I will leave. Just give me 3 minutes. Consider it my 3-year-late wedding gift back to you." She pulled the paper out of a leather wallet. Yellowed, folded once, blue ink faded at the creases. I recognized Hazel's handwriting immediately, the same round slant I had been reading on the kitchen note for 3 days. The date at the top, March 2019, 7 years ago. I read it, standing in my own confused silence. Marcus, Nia said, "Today is your birthday." I am tucking this into her card. I just wanted to say at that dinner in Boston last year, you listened to me talk about my clinical rotation for about 30 seconds before Nia cut me off. And that was the first 30 seconds in 2 years in Boston, where anyone in your family listened to me talk about what I actually do. Thank you. No need to reply. Happy birthday, H. Vanessa was watching my face. Want to know where I found that? It was tucked inside the card Nia sent you for your 29th birthday. I opened the envelope first. I kept it. 7 years. Then she went in for the second punch. And you want to know why she really moved down to Charlotte a year ago? Nia posted a story on Instagram back in March, the night of her birthday. Remember? Tagged your girl with the caption, "Reunited in the right city." Right city. Boston was not the right city. Charlotte was. Because of you. She held up her phone. A screenshot. Real. Nia had posted it. I had been at that birthday. I remembered the night. Nia was 2 drinks in and posting nonsense on her story. I had not looked. Vanessa had. Then Vanessa walked past me, straight into Hazel's kitchen. She picked up the HM 2019 mug from the counter and flipped it over so I could see the mark. And this one, you know who made it, Marcus? You have been drinking out of this at your sister's house every single Sunday for 3 years. I asked Nia the last time I saw her. She said, "Oh, that's Hazel's. 7 years she has been in your kitchen, Marcus, and you did not even notice." I stood there in the middle of Hazel's kitchen. My head was buzzing. 3 truths were colliding at the same time. Hazel had felt something for me since 2018, true. The note in Vanessa's hand proved it. Hazel had chosen Charlotte deliberately a year ago, also true. The story on Nia's phone proved that too, and I had been drinking out of her pottery every Sunday for 3 years without ever noticing whose hands had made it, also true. 3 true things, and Vanessa was standing in front of me, trying to weld them into one clean story that ended in the word ambush. But Vanessa had not shown up here today because she was worried I was being fooled. Vanessa had shown up here because I was building a life that no longer had her in it, and she could not stand it. 3 true facts do not automatically add up to one true story. What tells you the shape of the story is who is doing the telling, and why they picked this exact moment to tell it. Vanessa's timing gave her away. "Vanessa," I said. My voice was steady in a way that surprised me. "Put the mug down, please." She did not. She kept it in her hand. She was still talking, still building her case, still ticking off her list of pieces of evidence: Instagram, the note, the pottery, like she was closing a deal in a courtroom. The front door opened behind us. Hazel came in early, holding a small bag of groceries. She stopped at the kitchen doorway. She looked at Vanessa. She looked at the yellowed note in my hand. She looked at the mug in Vanessa's hand. She did not cry. She did not flinch. She did not open her mouth to defend herself or to explain. She set the grocery bag down very carefully on the counter, like she did not want to make any noise. Then she straightened up and said, "Hello, Vanessa." Vanessa turned. "There you are. Go on. Tell him. Tell him what year you started loving him." Hazel looked at me, not at Vanessa. Not once at Vanessa. "Marcus, I am sorry she found both of those things, but both of them are true. I did write that note. I did choose Charlotte. I will explain both of them to you whenever you are ready, just not with her in my kitchen." Vanessa was mid-sentence when her hand slipped, or she let it slip. The HM 2019 mug dropped straight onto the tile. It did not shatter. It just chipped one more small piece off the rim. The sound was surprisingly small. Hazel did not go and pick it up. She just stood there and looked down at it on the floor. Then she looked back up at Vanessa, and her voice went softer, not louder. "Vanessa, please leave my house." Vanessa turned to me instead. "Marcus, you are going to regret this. She is not who you think she is." I stayed calm, calmer than I actually felt. "You read that note back in 2019. Why did you not tell me about it at the time?" She hesitated for the first time since walking in, because at the time it did not matter. I said, "It did not matter because at the time you were still spending my money. Now you have lost the money. You have lost me. And you heard my studio is doing well. You did not come here today because you thought I was being fooled. You came here today because you saw I was happy, and you never once made me happy yourself. So finding out that somebody else might is worse for you than losing me was." Vanessa flushed, then went quiet. She dropped the note on the counter. She walked out the front door. She did not close it soft. She slammed it hard enough that the frame rattled. The house went quiet. My hands were cold. Hazel walked over, picked up the mug from the tile, and set it back on the counter next to the note. She did not say anything. She did not look at me yet. She just stood there in her own kitchen, breathing. I picked up the 2019 note and read it again, slower this time. It was such a small note, such a small ask. Just thank you for 30 seconds of listening. That was the whole crime. Then I looked at her and I said, "Sit down. Tell me the whole thing. Not from now. From the 30 seconds in Boston in 2018. And do not leave anything out." She sat down at the kitchen table and looked at the chipped mug on the counter. Then she looked up at me, and for the first time in my whole life, I got to hear one person's story from the person herself. and not from somebody else in the room. That dinner in Boston, 2018. I was 20. I had just been dumped by my college boyfriend. I was sitting at that table with you and Nia. Nia cut me off 3 times when I was trying to tell a story about my rotation. You were the only person who waited for me to finish the second 30 seconds. I remember that. I am not romanticizing it. I just remember it. The next year, the note. It was your birthday. I tucked it into Nia's card. I thought you would read it, smile once, and forget it. You were married. I was not hoping for anything. I just wanted to say thank you for 30 seconds. Between 2020 and 2023, I went silent. I had another boyfriend for 3 years. We broke up. I did my doctorate. I did not follow you. I only knew through Nia that you were fine, then not fine, then divorced. I never texted you. I never asked. I had my own life in Boston. The Mug Pair, 2023. I had been doing pottery for 3 years by then. My first real series I signed HM 2019 to mark the year I started, even though I threw them in 2023. I made a pair, ash glazed. I gave them to Nia as a birthday gift for Amari. I knew she would use them for the family. I did not say why. Nia did not ask, but she understood, and she gave you the same one every Sunday for 3 years. 2024. I finished the doctorate. I had 3 offers on the table. Boston, Chicago, Charlotte. Boston was easiest. Chicago paid the most. Charlotte had you. I sat with the offers for 3 weeks. 4 separate times I almost took Boston. The 5th time I texted your sister and I said, "Is Marcus actually okay?" Nia wrote back, "He is okay. He is not dating anyone. Try it, but do not make it a game." This past year in Charlotte, I did not have a plan to come at you. I just was here, in this city, doing my real work, letting myself be visible. The kitchen drawings were real, I needed the advice. The October coffee was real, I wanted to thank you. Saturday's dinner was real, my kitchen was finished, and I wanted the family over. But I did watch the weather. I did know Nia would leave early because of the girls, and I did rehearse the line, "No one will know," in the mirror 3 times last week. That part I did on purpose. That line, I was not trying to trick you. I said it because I was scared. I was scared that if anyone knew I had asked you to stay, I would have to explain why. And I was not ready to explain why. I just wanted one more night to have you see me up close, and then you would decide. If you decided nothing, nobody had to know I asked. I sat there for a while and I did not say anything. I picked up the chipped mug. I looked at the HM 2019 mark on the bottom, and I thought about how many mornings I had drunk out of that mark at Nia's kitchen table, without ever once turning the mug over. 7 years of small presents, sitting there in my hand, and I never looked. That was on me, not on her. I set the mug back down, and I looked back at her. "I have 3 questions. She nodded. "My sister knew you came to Charlotte because of me?" She nodded again. "From the start. I asked her permission first. She told me, 'Come, but do not turn it into a game.' I listened. If I told you to leave right now, leave Charlotte, take the Boston offer that is probably still open, would you go?" She nodded right away. No hesitation. "I would. I did not come to Charlotte to make you love me. I came so I would not spend the next 10 years of my life wondering what would have happened if I had tried. If you tell me to go, I have the answer, and I can go. Anything you want to ask me?" She was quiet for a second, longer than a second. Then she said, "Are you angry with me?" I said, "No. I am angry at Vanessa for turning a 20-year-old's note into a weapon 7 years after she read it. I am a little angry at Nia for hiding this from me for a year, when she and I have Sunday dinner every week, and she could have said one sentence. But you were decent enough not to break anything that belonged to anybody. You did not text. You did not chase. You just kept showing up in the places where our lives naturally touched, and you let me decide whether to look. That is not a crime. That is patience." I put the mug down. "But I need time. You had 7 years to prepare for this moment. I have had 4 days. Take the job. Stay in Charlotte. But we start over like 2 grown adults. No secret mugs. No hidden notes. No planning a bad weather Saturday 6 months out. No one will know. If we are real, we do not need to hide from anybody. Deal? She cried for the first time, no sound, just tears rolling down. She nodded. Deal. The next morning I went home. Not home from her life, home from her house. And that difference is what saved us both. I did not text her for a week. I needed to breathe. She respected that. She did not text me either. No follow-up, no check-in, nothing. The second week, I sent her one line, coffee on Sunday? Daylight. Outdoor seating, somewhere crowded. She wrote back, okay. We spent 2 hours at Amelie's French Bakery in Noda. She ordered tea. I ordered a black coffee. We talked about work. Nothing about the mug, nothing about the note. Nothing about the 7 years. Just work, and the way the light hit the sidewalk, and how she was thinking about a small sensory garden at the back of the clinic. That was the shape of it. Slow. In December I had her over for dinner for the first time with Nia and Ethan there, not the two of us alone. Nia hugged me at the door and whispered, "Thank you for not being angry at me," I said. I was a little angry, but I get it. She is your best friend. You were caught in the middle for a year. I get it. Nia's shoulders dropped an inch. She had been carrying that year in her shoulders and I had not noticed. That was on me too. During dinner, Hazel and Nia sat across from each other for the first time since the mug broke. And by dessert, they were laughing about something that had happened at Nia's office. I sat and watched the two of them, me sister, and the woman I had, apparently, been slowly walking toward for 8 years, both of them at my sister's table, at the same time, in the same city, on purpose. In January, we started walking every Sunday around Freedom Park. Rain or no rain. She told me about the hardest clinical case of that week. I told her about the most stubborn client, the school board member who kept fighting the color palette. Sometimes we walked a whole loop in silence. She did not fill silence. That is a small thing that turned out to be a very big thing over time. No hand-holding. Not yet. In March, my 37th birthday, she gave me a hand-drawn version of the Wesley Heights library, cleaner than mine. In some places, she had taught herself the basics of AutoCAD in 3 months, so she could read my drawings on her own. Not to replace a professional, she said. Just so I do not get lost when you talk about work. I looked at the drawing. I looked at her. I took her hand for the first time. She let out a breath she had probably been holding for months, maybe years. I felt her fingers relax in mine, one by one, like she had been waiting a long time to put that hand down. In May, the first kiss. On her front porch, after a plain weeknight dinner. Not dramatic, just right on time. Storm clouds far off over the trees. No rain yet, air heavy the way it gets in Carolina in late spring. She laughed into my shoulder afterward. 7 years for this kiss. I said, worth every one of them. In July, we drove down to Florida to see my parents. My dad, who never talks, hugged her for 2 whole seconds when we left. For my dad, that was a full speech, and my mom knew it. My mom pulled me into the kitchen and said, "Hold on to that one, Marcus. Do not overthink it. Do not compare it to what you had before. Just hold on." I said, "I know." In September, Vanessa emailed. It was long. Half apology, half something else. She asked to meet. I read the email with Hazel sitting next to me on the couch. When I was done, I looked at her. She did not say a single word. She did not lean over to read it. She did not ask what Vanessa wanted. She just kept doing what she had been doing before I opened the email, which was flipping through a clinical journal. I deleted the email. I did not reply. Hazel never asked what it had said. That was a kind of trust I had never had with anyone before in my life. In October, after 10 months of dating in the open, she moved into the townhouse, not engaged yet, just moving in. She brought a small ceramics box in with her boxes. Inside was the second mug of the 2019 pair. She set it on the kitchen shelf next to the chipped one. For the first time in 7 years, the pair was standing together where it belonged. I looked at that pair for a long time that night. One was chipped in 2 places, the original chip that Nia had put in it years ago, and the one Vanessa had knocked into it that Wednesday afternoon in October. One was whole. She stood next to me at the shelf and said, "I was thinking about sending the chipped one out for kintsugi. You know, gold in the cracks. The Japanese believe a bowl with gold in its cracks is the most beautiful part of it, because it survived being broken." I thought about that for a second. Then I shook my head. Don't send it out. Leave it. The cracks are the story. If you cover them, the mug stops being ours. That December, we hosted Christmas at the townhouse for the first time. Amari and Zara raced around the living room in one of those calm, warm moments that just happen when you are not trying to force them, just laughing, and gingerbread and warmth in a house that had been quiet for years. Ethan mulled some wine. Nia looked across the kitchen at Hazel and me in the corner and did not say anything, but her look said enough. It said, finally. In February, I asked her, no knee. We were washing dishes after a plain weeknight dinner. Our hands touched as she passed me a plate the same way they had touched in her kitchen a year and a half earlier. I said, marry me. She did not cry this time. She just said, yeah, finally. And we kept washing dishes. Now it is March. We have not set a date. There is no rush. But at the front door there are 2 pairs of shoes, 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom, the pair of mugs on the kitchen shelf, 1 chipped, 1 whole. There is a morning where she pours my coffee at exactly 2 scoops, no sugar, and now I finally know why she knows. And the 2019 note, I had it framed under glass, and I hung it next to the Wesley Heights drawing on the wall of my studio. Now I am sitting here, 16 months after that rainy night, telling you all of this, and I have learned a few things. I used to think love had to be loud to be real. Vanessa was loud, and she was fake. Hazel was silent for 8 years, and she was more real than anything else in my life. I used to think no one will know was a seductive line. Now I know it was the line of a person afraid of being seen, afraid of being turned down. And the right answer was never, okay, no one will know. The right answer was, let everyone know. If we are real, we do not need to hide. I used to think cracks were weakness. Now I know cracks are proof. Proof the cup lived. Proof it had been held by different hands, collided with life, and still holds water. The Japanese put gold in the cracks 1,000 years before I understood why. And I used to think silent people were the ones with nothing to say. Now I know silent people are the ones waiting to be heard. If you are waiting on somebody, do not wait forever. If somebody is waiting on you, do not make them wait longer than they need to. 2 questions before you go. Is there someone in your life who has been quiet at the edge for years, that you never really looked at closely? And if somebody said to you tonight, stay, no one will know, what would you rather your answer be? No one, or everyone? If this story touched you, hit like so I know you are here. Subscribe so you do not miss next week's story. A man finds a letter written 30 years ago and never sent. And in the comments, tell me, do you believe in the people who love us in silence, or does love have to be loud to be true? I read every comment. See you at the next one.